Hello students, welcome once again to the channel Physiology Redefined. Today I will talk about some very interesting facts about the RBCs. So keep watching till the end of this video, and if you like this, don't forget to subscribe this channel and share it to your friends. So my friends, let us see what are the very important and very interesting aspects regarding the RBCs. So first, I will talk about the interesting aspects of the morphology of the RBC. So first is regarding the morphology or structure of RBC. RBC is the circular cell. So it is the circular and biconcave. Circular and biconcave. So this is the RBC is the circular cells and biconcave. That means the peripheral part of the RBC is thick and the central part of the RBC is thin. So this is the biconcave structures. So the RBC, the diameter of the RBC is 7.5 micron. Average diameter of the RBC is 7.5 micron. So this is the average diameter of the RBC, which is 7.5 micron. As I told that the peripheral part is thicker, that means uniform thickness. Peripheral part is thicker and the central part is thin. So the diameter of the peripheral part of the RBC, this is around 2.2 micron, whereas the diameter of the central part of the RBC is around 1 micron. So central part is thin and the peripheral part is thick. Now here question comes, why or what for the RBC is having this type of biconcave disc-like structure? What are the advantages of this type of shape? That is the biconcave shape. So let us see regarding that. So advantages of the biconcave structure. Advantages of the biconcave structure of the RBC. What are the advantages? First advantage is that you know that blood has to flow through to the entire body cells, entire tissues of the body, and this is done by the help of very narrow blood capillaries. That means RBC has to pass through the narrow blood capillaries to supply the oxygen to the tissues and wash out the carbon dioxide from the tissues, to collect the carbon dioxide from the tissues. So there is a need of the blood to reach the most peripheral part of the body, in which the blood capillaries are present, in which blood is supplied, oxygen is supplied to the tissues through the narrow blood capillaries. And as the RBC has to pass through the narrow blood capillaries, diameter of which is very less than the diameter of the RBC. That means 7.5 micron. Diameter of the RBC is 7.5 micron. Whereas the diameter of the narrow blood capillaries is almost half of this and below half of this. So how then the RBC will carry the oxygen to those tissues through those narrow blood capillaries? This is possible by folding the RBC. RBC will be folded. RBC will be once the RBC will enter into the blood capillaries, they will be folded. So diameter will be half, and this folding is possible because central part is thin. As the central part is thin, it will be automatically folded. It will be squeezed so that the RBC can be enabled to pass through the narrow blood capillaries to give the oxygen supply to the tissues and collect the carbon dioxide from the tissues. So first advantage of this thing is that, first advantage, it helps to fold the RBCs, and that helps to pass the RBC through narrow blood capillaries, and thereby supply oxygen and collect carbon dioxide from the tissue. So to reach the carbon dioxide and to enable collection of the carbon dioxide at the very peripheral part of the tissues, this RBC is to squeeze, is to fold. It can fold even twice, and thereby it can pass through, it can squeeze through the narrow blood capillaries to give the blood supply to the most peripheral part of the body. This is the first advantage. Second advantage is that you know that oxygen comes within the lungs alveolus, and that is diffused to the blood, and that ultimately oxygen, main part of the oxygen from the plasma is diffused to the RBC. And within the RBC there is hemoglobin. Within the RBC there is hemoglobin. So within the RBC there is hemoglobin. Now what's happened? As the center biconcave, because of the biconcave part, because the central part is thin, RBC oxygen need not travel too much deep to the cell. So if suppose this is the in case of, if the RBC used to be spherical and the hemoglobin is this much, so oxygen has to travel to the greater extent in comparison to this distance. So oxygen need not pass a great distance to reach the hemoglobin because of the biconcave shape of the RBC, because the central part of the RBC is very thin. So oxygen easily, very quickly passed to this distance and gets bind with the hemoglobin to form the oxyhemoglobin. So this is the second advantage, that it need not travel too much. It need not travel too much to bind hemoglobin. This is the second advantage of this biconcave shape. Third advantage is that because of this biconcave shape, the surface area of the RBC is very high. So because of this biconcavity, there is an increased surface area. And this surface area helps to increase the rate of oxygen diffusion as you know that if the surface area is more, rate of oxygen diffusion to get bind with the hemoglobin will also be more. So increase surface area, that helps number one, increase oxygen diffusion rate. Increase oxygen diffusion rate. Very quickly oxygen will be diffused to bind with the hemoglobin, and secondly, it will withstand the osmotic pressure. As the RBCs are present in the plasma, present within the water medium, a huge amount of the osmotic pressure they has to face. So because of the increased surface area, this helps to overcome the osmotic pressure, and thereby resist or prevent the hemolysis of the RBC. Hemolysis or RBC breakdown is prevented. If the osmotic pressure is more, then what's happened? Because of the osmotic pressure, the water will come in, RBC will swell up, and thereby there can be hemolysis of the RBC. So that is prevented by overcoming the osmotic pressure because of the increased surface area of the RBCs. So this is about the interesting facts regarding the shape of the RBC, that is biconcavity. And now here one thing I want to add, that as I told that once the RBC passed through the narrow blood capillaries, it used to fold. It gets folded, and once again it will come back to the wider capillary. It will again come back to its original diameter, that is 7.5 micron, because RBC has got another protein on its cell membrane that is known as spectrin. So spectrin is the elastic protein. It has got a high elasticity. So once the RBC comes back into the wider capillaries, wider blood vessels, then because of the elasticity property of the spectrin molecule present on the plasma membrane of the RBC, shape of the RBC will again come back to its original position. It will again unsqueezed, it will be again unfolded to its original position, original shape, that is the biconcave shape of having 7.5 micron diameter. So this is about the advantages of the biconcavity. Second interesting facts regarding the morphology of the RBC is that it is non-nucleated. There is no nucleus within it, non-nucleated, without having any cell organelles. That means not having mitochondria, not having endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus. That means all the cell organelles, usual cell organelles, are absent within the RBC besides the absence of the nucleus. Now here again question comes, what for? The RBC has not got no nucleus and no mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, etc. Yes, it has got some advantages. What are those? So this is because, advantages of this one, advantages of not having this one. Number one, it accommodates more oxygen as these organelles are not there within the RBC. Obviously some extra space is available, which is to accommodated by the nucleus or endoplasmic reticulum or mitochondria, etc. So as those organelles are not there, some extra space will be available, and within this extra space more hemoglobin can be accommodated. Purpose of the RBC is only, a function of the RBC is only to carry the oxygen from lungs to tissues and carbon dioxide from tissues to lungs. So this will be done by the hemoglobin. So if more hemoglobin is present within the RBC, obviously more oxygen can be transported, more carbon dioxide can be transported. So to enable more hemoglobin, these nucleus and these organelles are eliminated in the mature RBCs. So these were present in the developing RBCs, but in the mature RBCs, these were eliminated. So to accommodate more oxygen. And secondly, it minimizes oxygen uses by these organelles, by these parts or these organelles. So if these are present within the cell, obviously they will use some oxygen, and thereby whatever oxygen gets bind with the hemoglobin, that will be used up to a certain extent. So that can also be prevented. So minimizes the oxygen uses by these organelles. So these organelles will not use the oxygen, and thereby more oxygen will be available to the tissues. So these are the advantages of the non-nucleated, not having mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum and the Golgi apparatus. Now this has got some disadvantage also. What are the disadvantages? Because of these things, these are having short lifespan, very short lifespan, and this is around 120 days. So RBCs are having short lifespan, that is 120 days, because as the nucleus is not there, DNA is not there, so mRNA will not be formed, and thereby proteins or enzymes will not be formed. As the mitochondria is not there, ATP cannot be synthesized, proteins cannot be synthesized because of the lack of endoplasmic reticulum, ribosome, etc. So all these things will make the life of the RBCs cut short, and this is around how much? 120 days. Now here again one very interesting question may come in your mind, that 120 days, it is almost 4 months. So 4 months is not a short duration, is not a typically short duration, it is rather lengthy. So how then this RBC can survive? How then this RBC can survive as no protein synthetic machineries, no enzymatic synthetic enzymes are getting synthesized by the RBC, on which the function of the RBC depends? How then it survives? So it survives, RBC survives for this 120 days because of the fact that it has plenty amount of the enzymes in its cytoplasm. That means once the RBC are matured, RBC is studded with, RBC is overloaded with enough amount of the enzymes, and that enzymes are responsible for maintenance of the RBC's own function, and RBC's function is very little, that is oxygen carriage, carbon dioxide carriage, and some other functions that I will discuss in other video. So these minimum functions can be done by the help of those overloaded enzymes and the energy present within the RBC. And during the maturation process of the RBC, those enzymes are synthesized and they are overloaded before the nucleus and other organelles are eliminated from the RBC once the RBC gets mature. And as long as these enzymes are present within the RBC, the functions of the RBC is maintained. As soon as these enzymes are exhausted, what's happened? RBC will become fragile and they will now damage, they will be now destroyed. So this is how the RBC survive for 120 days because of the stored enzymes present on the RBC cytoplasm. And RBC do not undergo the Kreb cycle or TC cycle, only the glycolysis process. By the help of the glycolysis process that goes on in the RBC, that synthesizes some amount of the ATP, and that ATP is sufficient enough to maintain the normal function of the RBC. So as long as these enzymes are present, RBC survives. Once these enzymes are exhausted, RBC is to destroyed by the reticuloendothelial cells of the body. So this is all about some interesting facts regarding the morphology of the RBC. The other aspects of the RBC that I will bring in my next video. So again, I would like to request you to subscribe this channel who are not yet subscribed, who are new in this channel. Subscribe it and press the like button to keep me motivating so that I can bring some other videos to this YouTube channel. Thank you.